What is up, guys and girls? Hurricane Liz here, and today I answer a question that I just keep getting over and over and over again. It's starting to sound like a broken record, but guess what? I'm here to answer this question for you, and it is, which is the absolute best platform to get started in my e-commerce career? And it always comes down to two big choices, even though I am going to throw in an extra one in there. But the two big, most commonly asked e-commerce platform is, who would be better for me, Liz, as a noob starting out in e-commerce? Is it Amazon or is it Walmart? So I'm here finally to lay that answer to rest. Now remember, I have almost 20 years experience in the e-commerce niche, so I'm starting to show my real age. And I remember when we used to shop on those giant phones. It wasn't possible, people. There was no smartphones back in the day. They were all dumb phones. And after all, aren't they still dumb phones right now? So I'm super fired up to find out what I have to say about this. I hope you're fired up. Let's go ahead and do this. What's that scene in Wolf of Wall Street where DiCaprio says something like, I eat like a fish, I gamble like a degenerate, and I bleep 5 to 6 hookers a week, or something like that. That scene should have been more like, I eat like a fish, I gamble like a degenerate, and I smell like a fish too. And I'm referring to Jordan Belfort himself. You're gonna find out why I say that about him at the end of this video. But first, let's talk about this question that I got, which prompted this whole what's better, Amazon or Walmart question that I keep getting in the question box. And this particular question came in by email, which I've gotten plenty that look like this, even longer. You guys know who you are out there that sends me even longer ones than this, but I do read every single one of them. As always, my email is below in the description box, and I typically do respond to these unless they're really, really long and or I don't have the time to do it. But I do answer some of them, people. We'll just say that to stay safe. But here we go. This message comes from Julio, and Julio just basically says, no BS, no sugarcoating in your videos. I like the way you present things. Saw some of the comments, decided to reach out to you. That's the gist of it. I'm paraphrasing this stuff. I'm new to this business, but I have no idea what or where to start. I currently have a 9-to-5 job, but I'm living paycheck to paycheck. What's better, Amazon, automation, or Walmart? And several other questions like, what do you recommend, and so forth, blah, blah, blah. Let's talk about what the gist of what Julio is asking here and what my response is to that. First and foremost, he's asking about what's better, Amazon or Walmart. And there's obviously Amazon, Walmart. There's also Facebook Marketplace. So we'll kind of toss that in here a little bit. This is a standard newbie question I get all the time. The things that we have to ask ourselves, though, are very particular to each individual situation, and those are typically revolving around the fact of, number one, and possibly the biggest and most influential factor here, is budget. What is your budget? Now, you have budget for a couple different things. Your budget to learn, as well as your budget to actually put into the business and help grow the business. Now, you also have assets. Assets could be maybe old stuff that you have laying around in your garage that you could toss out and or possibly even sell. Not toss out, you want to sell. Or it's your time. Two biggest things that you have right now. And as well as maybe availability on a credit card. So 3 big major assets there. Then you got your skill level. How experienced are you at this whole online thing? Because a lot of succeeding online really comes down to one real core thing, and that is confidence. The confidence and the amount that you believe in yourself. Now, I've recently been reading this book a lot about behavior and how to look at human behavior. And one of the things that it says in terms of the laws of human behavior, and number one thing that it says is, every human out there is both insecure, and the second thing is every human out there is also suffering. So despite the fact that you see me being very confident in what I'm doing and so forth, there are certain things that I still can be insecure about. One of them could be starting a brand new business. And for somebody that's brand spanking new, that would be amplified by the fact that they're completely new and they have no friends that are involved in the whole thing, and they have no confidence. So again, every human is suffering and insecure. That is one of the core laws of human behavior. And so let's go ahead and get back to this whole thing. So we've got budget, assets, skill level. In the case of Julio, we're assuming he's got a very low budget since he's living paycheck to paycheck. Probably not too many assets, but we'll say that maybe he's got some things laying around his garage the very same way that I did. So I started this business with absolute zero budget because of the fact that I was in a bad situation since I used to play online poker and the government just pretty much took all my money. So I literally had to start with all the contents of my mother's garage and sell out my sister's old nursing textbooks, as well as some things that we just had laying around that we never used and were still in box. That's how I budgeted to be able to start on Amazon. Now, skill level I had, I was somewhat a veteran at online, making money online, but it's still, if you have no skill level, then the confidence is something that you have to overcome. So that's the first thing that you ask yourself. The second thing that you ask yourself is you want to understand when looking at Walmart versus Amazon and even Facebook, what is the longevity of each model? Clearly, Amazon's been around longest from an online perspective. Walmart and Facebook have just recently started with their online platforms and the ability to sell as a merchant. So a lot of things with them can be a little inconsistent. And as we've seen that with Walmart, we've also now recently seen that Facebook has begun to ban people. So there's that at play. And in terms of budget, you really don't need to experiment with Amazon. So a lot of times when you start to experiment with the new platforms, you don't want to put in that much money because it's just a complete experimentation. With Amazon, you can pretty much go nuts. You know that your shit's going to sell and you know that your shit's going to sell fast. So there's that to put in mind. And then finally comes the model, right? What model do you want to execute? Drop shipping, I would clearly stay away from that on all three platforms. At some point in time, it will be shut down on all three, or they'll at least try to do their best to shut it down, particularly those that are doing nothing more than drop shipping from big box retailer to big box retailer. So you want to completely stop that and try to get into a longer term model. What are those longer term models? It could be FBA, it could be WFS, which is Walmart's version of Amazon FBA, which are pretty much meaning that they themselves will fulfill after you send the product to them. So you're physically having to buy inventory first before they sell your product. And then lastly comes private label, whereas if you sell on Walmart or Facebook, you're not going to have quite a bit of success as if you can sell on Amazon. And that's primarily because once you get Amazon running, you gain all that extra organic traffic, yielding you organic sales, or just people that are randomly searching for, hey, what's the best humidifier to buy on Amazon? And they randomly run across yours because you've earned it. So there's those things to consider. And then lastly comes the old tried but true method, which is possibly the best for a brand new person to start with, which is arbitrage and or wholesale. And what I mean by that is when you physically go into a store and you find a product like this candle and then you scan it on your phone and you see that this candle, while selling at Marshall's, it smells quite nice, for maybe $4 or $5, is now selling on Amazon for $12. That's 3xing the original return by taking the $4 and saying, or $5 and saying, hey, I can sell this for $15. I know that I'm going to have to pay Amazon $5 to sell it on their platform. I pay $5 for it, and on top of that, I get to collect the $4 and some odd cents that I would. Now, I'm just making that up off the top of my head. This candle could, in fact, sell for a lot less than that, but there are thousands and thousands and hundreds of thousands of products that you can find like that in any store that is around you. You'd be surprised at the kind of crap that will sell on Amazon. This is even still happening in thrift stores, in Goodwill shops, and in big lots near you that you can still execute and use this model day in and day out. There's tens and tens and probably even hundreds of thousands, possibly even 1 million people that are doing this on Amazon right now, making a good earning doing it. And I no doubt know that even during a recession, they'll still be doing well because people will always want to buy shit from their house and they'll always want it tomorrow, particularly products that you have to eat and repeatedly use over and over again. So never let that stop you from understanding that it can be done. I, at one point, was one of those cynics that was like, how in the hell am I going to sell this shit on Amazon? Who in their right mind would pay 3x when I can just march on down to Big Lots and buy that myself? Well, let me tell you something. I'm through with marching down to Big Lots. I could give two shits if I ever step foot in that store again. And I don't even know if that store still exists. So that goes to show you my enchantment with Amazon and any other online store that makes it very quick and easy for me to get my products. So with that being said, let's talk about which one I'd pick and why, and then give Julio a little bit more advice. From a safety perspective and a long-term perspective, hands down, I know I said, hands down, it's Amazon. You don't want to go with anyone else. Amazon's been there for the longest time. It's the safest and most stable business model. From a budget perspective, Paycheck to paycheck, well, Julio, I hate to tell you that you're going to have to make some sacrifices, as do many of us. And I don't need to go ahead and tell you what those sacrifices can be. You should be smart enough to be able to figure out what some of the things you might have to do in order to make this happen for you. Now, ways that you could bootstrap it, clearly you can go to garage sales. Clearly you can do some eBay flipping before you start your Amazon journey. As I told you before, I literally went into my mom's garage and pretty much took everything that she had in there and then started to resell it. This is how I started myself. You can start this with as little as $100 and or some availability on a credit card. Now, further advice to you is, remember, you still have your $40 Amazon fee per month. And the first time that you do send in inventory, you are going to have to get packaging supplies as well as paid shipping to Amazon, which is offered to you at a deeply discounted rate. But nevertheless, you will still have to pay out of your pocket for that. So your profit will be instant. As one of the questions you ask, how fast will I get profit? It'll be instant, but you'll have to remove those initial fees out of there and then also add them in there once per month. Because it's going to have to happen over and over again if you're going to want to continue to make profit on Amazon. Now, in terms of risks, it's virtually nothing other than that first month pay period, unless you absolutely do nothing and just decide to sit around after you pay Amazon $40. But it's very little to none, specifically if you stick to the rules of selling hot products that turn over very quickly and you're able to flip your money very fast. My advice to you is just to test, test, and test. Don't fall in love too much with any one product immediately. Make sure you test it out with a couple units before you buy a shit ton of it before you get stuck with it. Other than that, there's no need to sit around and think about this, Julio. I know exactly what you mean when you're overthinking or you're trying to wait around. The best advice that I can give you is start now and start fast. And lastly, he says here, I feel like the scene of Wolf of Wall Street when Jonah Hill tells DiCaprio that he would quit his job and work for him. Ha ha. Trust me, you don't want to meet the Wolf of Wall Street. I've met him before. I've had dinner with him before. He's kind of a douche. That's all I got to say there. I won't get into more details unless people ask about it below. But I sort of don't like to get involved with people that think that they're on too much of a high horse to speak with us regular folk, right? All right, guys and girls, I hope that helped all of you that are brand spanking new and are trying to figure out what to do, Amazon or Walmart. Questions and comments, I will always personally answer. Paste them below, and I'll be more than happy to check those out. And I'll see you all next time.